What's up, guys? Chad, the Easy Astro Images channel. Welcome back. I threw up a poll a week ago talking about doing processing videos. Short, long, hard, easy. It's kind of a mixed bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick Andromeda, and then we're going to do the Pleiades, because they're two of the favorite images that I've taken, and they're big images we took with the Red Cat 51 and the 2600. And you guys can have the data and play with it and play along and all that kind of fun stuff. So we're going to start here with the easiest way. So we're going to do everything in Pixinsight. Maybe we'll throw a few little curveballs in there. Some of you want to know, like, when you might deviate certain ways and certain paths. I'll explain a little bit of that to you, and, you know, try to cut out all the fluff and all that shit and just get on and going. First thing I want to do is shout out Old School Raver, Curtis Ross, Hikara 210, Rigobert Van der Mecken, Andy Bennett, and the OG James DSO Imager. Those are my channel members. If you want to be a channel member, we have membership links down below, or you can buy me a beer or whatever you think I pleasure in below with the paypal.me link. So let's get into Pixinsight here, and we'll take a look at what we did about 2 years ago. So this is it. Not a bad image. Really, when I line these images up and everything in Nina, that when I was using Nina to capture the data, one thing I always wanted to try to do was just not just focus on Andromeda. And this isn't the best example, but we can play with this a little bit. But I always wanted to look at, like, the overall composition. So since I had this wide angle, you know, big type of target, what else could I put in there? You know, what other galaxies, what other clusters, things like that. Like, what else could we add to the composition? So this is kind of what we're stuck with, but you can see that, you know, there's some pretty cool stuff going on as far as, like, we've got some big, bright, colorful stars, and I want to try to bring those out and emphasize those. That'd be pretty easy to do. The color, I think, inside of here is just not right. Obviously, we've got some overexposed stuff there that we're going to have to work on, and we might not be able to do that in this actual video, because that might be something that we have to do in one of the harder tutorials. So let's get to this thing right here. So first thing is, the way that this thing is, you know, just kind of arranged isn't the way that I want to do it. So we're going to do fast rotation, and it's going to say, hey, you're going to mess up your stuff for SPCC. That's fine with me, because I am not using SPCC. I am totally on the Sky Stories hype train when it comes to using linear fit. I just think it gives me better colors, and I don't have to guess about what filters I use and all that kind of shit. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start with this right here real quick. We're just going to go to SETI Astro, and we'll just run his automatic DBE real quick. I don't need to see the gradient. We're going to replace the target and just click execute. And let's go ahead and reapply the screen stretch. Boom, there we go. That is what we got going on. And now the next thing, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just shorten up this name. We'll just call it M31, and that'll be good enough. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the channels, and we're going to use linear fit to basically equalize all of our colors right from the start. Again, if you want to use something like SPCC, you can go ahead and do that at this time. But you know, I just got to say that, like, I know all the pros and everybody say to use it because it's accurate and all this kind of stuff. But again, I'm just on that Sky Stories train where I don't think that it creates the best type of stuff. It's a little bit of an extra step here. We got to split the channels, and then we got to open up the statistics process, and then we got to start looking at the images. Now, SETI said that, like, his stretch actually does this, but I like to do stuff that I like to do before I stretch it. So I don't know if he kind of understands what I was trying to say, but maybe he'll comment on this and tell me where I'm wrong. So what I want to do is match this to the highest value. So I'm just looking at this median value. So the red is 8.21, and the blue is 8.23, and the green is 8.16. All right, so the blue is definitely the brightest one that we have. So let's go ahead and minimize all of these. And then we're going to open up linear fit, which is a process, but I have it right over here. And we're going to use the blue as our reference image. So we'll just open up the red here, and then we're going to drag and drop this onto the red and the green channel. All right, now when you look at all three of these stacked on top of each other, you can kind of see that they all are kind of matched and everything like that. At this point, some people, if you really wanted to get super crazy, you could work on each one of these individually. I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. All I'm going to do is just add everything back together. So we'll just go ahead and find our RGB combination, and we'll turn off the luminance channel, and then we can just minimize all these and then drag and drop them into the perspective channels. And then we'll go ahead and apply global and auto stretch that. And there is our new color balanced image. So now we can close all the stuff out. And if you want to, you can get rid of your original image as well. I like to have a clean workspace. So now here is what we are looking at. So let's get to work on this the cool way. So let's go ahead and use Blur Exterminator. I really hope that a lot of you guys have it. I know some of you don't. I'm sorry that if you do not, and you're not able to proceed this way. There are alternatives. Is a person that took over the Dark Archon easy processing suite stuff. So that way you can get like deconvolution and all that kind of stuff a little bit easier. But I haven't used it because I have this. So first what we're going to do is just run it in its correct only mode. And this is going to basically clean up all of this craziness that we got going on in the stars right here. So if I just drag and drop it, you're going to see that these stars are immediately just going to become pretty great looking. All right. Very happy how that looks. I just, lose my mind every time I see it. You should actually see some of the hyperstar data I was playing with that had the worst looking stars ever. The corners looked like hell, and like it was just able to correct them. Maybe I'll show you that sometime. You guys will really, I think, get a kick out of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this, and what SETI calls is like fluffy stars. I'm actually going to lower it a little bit because I want my stars to be a little bit bigger. I want my halos to be a little bit bigger. And I'm going to run this in this format. All right, I think that looks really good right there. Now, what I'm going to do is I want these stars that is going on in this image right here, but I want to do more work to everything else. So what we're going to do is pull this off and make a clone. So let's go ahead and let's do some of the stuff that might look a little bit complicated. So I want these stars. So the first thing I want to do is I do want to denoise this image before I go ahead and stretch and pull these stars out. So we're going to run default settings of Noise Exterminator. And now that is all done. And now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and apply our screen stretch to this. So I'm going to open up the screen stretch tool, and I'm going to open up histogram transformation. And then we're going to go ahead and stretch that image. It might be a little bit too powerful. So what we can do is just kind of roll in here, and we can basically dim this down a little bit. So again, we're just looking at the stars here. We're not looking at everything else. And then of course we're going to do this whole convoluted thing where we move the triangle down here, and then we move it here, and of course everything is going to go super crazy on us. And then we can close that stuff right there. And then now you can see our stars are really, they're nice. There's a size differential. There's a definite color and halo differential out of all of them. So I'm really happy with the way that looks. So now we're going to use Star Exterminator. We're going to unscreen them because we've actually already stretched everything, and we want the star image. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so there are our stars. Let's go ahead and minimize that, and we will keep a hold of those for a later date, and we can get rid of this image right here because we are not going to need it. Now let's go back to our original image here, and let's go ahead and start doing the same things. So what we've done already is we did the correct only blur exterminator. Now I'm going to do a blur exterminator basically on full power. So I want to make sure that I got all the stuff selected that I needed. So let's just go ahead and run that. Awesome. Now let's get rid of these stars. So we don't need a star image. I want to make sure that we've got the right AI selected, because I saw that light was selected on the first one. We don't want them. We just want the background image. All right, there we go. That is all good. Now let's go ahead and let's stretch this bad boy. So let's kill this. I think the last time I did this, I tried using GHS. You know how I feel about that. I think it's just a complete waste of time for everybody. But hey, if that's what you like, then that's on you. So we can look at our preview image here and see what's going on. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. The background might be a little too bright. We can always mask that and fix that. But what I found with this image is that you want to find a good mix of bright and dark, because when you start applying masks and playing around with things, it's going to kind of like leave these uneven shadowy areas. So you got to kind of just eyeball this and try a couple things and hope for the best. So I kind of like the way that looks with the curves boost. See what happens if we boost that up to 0.1. All right, that's looking good. SETI is the man. So let's go ahead and execute that. And there is our stretched image. So then the next thing we'll do is let's go ahead and run some noise exterminator on this in its default configuration, just to clean everything up. All right, everything is looking super smooth. So now we kind of get into the nitty gritty details. So the first thing I think that I want to do is let's just add some saturation into this a little bit, and we will go ahead and use the curves tool. And what I want to make sure that doesn't happen is that we don't add a bunch of saturation into the background. It's okay if we get some of those star halos and blurbs and stuff to get saturated. I'm all right with that, but I don't want like the overall background to be saturated. All right, so that's cool. And then maybe we can just pull it up one more time, and that looks good to my eye. All right, let's reset that. Now let's go back into regular curves. Let's look at where our histogram's at. And you know, everything is pretty much down here and everything else is pretty much up here. So let's just pin everything down here. And let's see if we can get a nice boost going on. See, it's going to get carried away from us real quick. So we got to be like super, super gentle with all this. All right, so I'm not going to go much further than that right there, because we got better ways to protect everything. One thing I am going to do is I want to pull a little bit of green out of this to bring everything back to a little bit more of a normal shade. And I don't want to pull too far, because then I'm going to go into that purple. So we just want to pull it down a little bit. All right, that looks good. Let's take a look at what we got here. All right. There we go. We can see that the background has got like a little bit of purple stuff going on, but we can go ahead and fix that. So we're going to fix that by going ahead and doing a range mask. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create a range mask to basically cover all of this stuff up. And this is where things can get a little tricky with this thing. So we're going to do range selection. And what we want to do, of course, is we want to cover all of our good stuff that we want. And then we're going to fuzz this thing out and smooth this thing out. And let's see what this ends up getting us. So it's very tricky to do all of this and not create a separation right here. So it's one problem that I've noticed with this image. So let's go ahead and try that. And then I think the first thing we want to do is, so right now we're protecting the background and we have everything else. So let's go ahead and go into curves transformation and open that up. And let's try to just bring up the actual nebula itself. which we're doing a pretty good job of. So, all right, I'm liking what we're getting here. So we can pull this over a little bit. We're not really blowing out a whole lot of things right now. So it's going to be very, very subtle, and we're going to have to try to use some techniques to recover everything. So let's get rid of that, and let's add in a little bit more saturation into it. And that is looking good right there. Let's apply that. And then again, let's just pull the green back just, yeah, see, it's just a little too purple. I kind of like it like right there in the middle. So we're just going to get rid of that altogether. I really think we can do more with this. So all of our data is so far up the chain here. Let's just try to lift everything a little bit more, and then let's see if we can recover it. So, all right, that looks good to me. The background actually looks pretty good to me too. Like if we hide the mask, we can see that we don't have a really crazy definition of color or anything else. So let's go ahead and roll with that. And we got our mask on there. So let's get into like bringing back some of this detail. So we're going to show the mask. And I think the first thing that we should probably do is let's try our good friend HDR multi-scale transform. So let's see if we can bring some of that stuff back the easy way. So let's just go ahead and leave it at 6. We could change this to work on like smaller scales type of stuff. So, you know, feel free to play around with these. That looks a little bit too crunchy to me. So this is one of those where you raise the number and you actually get less of an effect. Got to Control-Shift-Z to undo that. Let's see what an 8 gives us. I think 7 looked pretty good. Let's go into here and let's just apply 7 globally. All right, so I'm going to settle on the regular B-spline and number layers of 8. I think that did a pretty good job of just kind of balancing out detail and everything else. So we're going to leave it at that. And, you know, we've got some color noise in there now and all kinds of stuff. So things are going our way, but they're also kind of going sideways real quick. Let's go into the histogram transformation and let's see what we can do as far as just bumping everything back up. So let's try to pull this back in a little bit. All right, so here is where we are at. We've got our image right here and we've got our star plate. And this is where things get a little bit difficult. Again, trying to bring all this stuff back in Pixinsight is kind of difficult. So we could try the deconvolution. We could try that method where we apply the luminance and all that kind of stuff. But I want to we get better results doing that elsewhere. So let's just do this kind of like the old school easy way. So let's go ahead and just apply noise exterminator to our image here. And it's really going to clean everything up. And, you know, everything is really nice and smooth and just looks really good. So this is kind of where we're at right now. And what we'll do is let's go ahead and just merge these images together because, you know, we're going to be able to run Blur Exterminator again to bring out a little bit more details. And as I said before, we obviously can do a lot more with this image. Before we do that though, we're going to have to play with our stars a little bit. And, you know, the stars are kind of what they are right now. What I want to do first is I want to just basically remove some of the green. So I'm going to use one of Bill Blanchard's tools here and just drag and drop and get rid of that green cast that is around a lot of the stars. And that did a good job. And then we'll go ahead and pull up a curves transformation here. and click on saturation. And then we're just going to start bumping up the color on the stars. And, you know, it's all up to you, but, you know, the more color, the better. I think these things are just going to look great. Again, just kind of going for the overall composition. And we'll just go ahead and leave that with that. So now we've got some big, bright, and beautiful colored stars. And we have our Andromeda image. Might have a little bit of a cast color to the background of it, but that's all right. When we blend this all together using the image blending script here, it's just going to go ahead and look really good anyway. Now you could be doing the screen method if you wanted to, or you can use this regular stars and this image, but we'll just go ahead and use the regular combined images script here. And here is what we're looking at here. And you can just see the overall composition. Sometimes it's really hard to like match things and just make them work independently. So you got to kind of throw it together and see what you're looking at. So if we look at that image right there now, I mean, that just looks completely fantastic compared to what we had before. So we laid our stars over top of everything. All right. You know, if you wanted to minimize the stars a little bit, of course you can do anything you want to, but we've got a beautiful color popping image. And then finally, what we can do is we can just do a little preview here, and we'll draw in a little preview box. And what I want to do is just run some blur exterminator on this, and this will, you know, kind of give us our nice sharpening. I usually find that I can put this up to about maybe 0.7, and you know, we might have to go up, might have to go down. We'll just try it on the preview here, see how much detail we can recapture. Control Shift Z. I mean, it's very, very subtle, but it's definitely in there. I know it's going to be pretty hard to see on YouTube, so we'll just go ahead and run that on the entire image. And there we go. That just kind of crisp things up just a very, very little bit. Good enough. I mean, I think that looks fantastic compared to the original image that we started with. And this is like the easiest way to do it. Look at the composition that we have. We've got a lot of great stars. We've got a good looking Andromeda. We've got the color going on. We've got the cluster going on here. And I mean, I think this looks really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Not a whole lot to it, but we definitely have made an improvement compared to the last one, in my opinion. And in the next video, we will take it one step further, and we will go into like Affinity Photo, where we'll rescreen our stars so we control their brightness a little bit different. And then we can start doing things with like high frequency filters and all that kind of stuff to like add extra detail and sharpness and stuff into the Andromeda galaxy itself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Any comments, let me know below, and we will talk to you later. Peace.